Planning Commission meeting of February 5th, 2025 will come to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Mann?
Here.
Commissioner Tolson?
Here.
Commissioner Rice?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Kennedy?
Here.
Chairperson Chrisman?
Here. May I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
A motion was made by Commissioner Rice with a second by Commissioner Tolson. Unless there are any objections, the agenda stands approved. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
We have no minutes.
We have no minutes? Yeah, sorry. The Secretary will read the declaration of conflict.
If any member of the Planning Commission may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time.
Are there any declarations of conflict? This is the time allotted for public statements or comments on all items other than public hearing items. Is there anyone in the chambers wishing to be heard? We have one. Corey Fromm. Can you please state your name and residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Corey Fromm, Simi Valley. Hello, I'm Corey Fromm. Due to a noncompliance under the Ralph M. Brown Act, I am requesting that the public hearing held on January 23rd, 2025, regarding project title case number PDS 2023004 be appealed. This request for appeal of administrative decision is made on the specific grounds that the staff report, which includes the notice of exemption, attachment A, stating the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, was not accessible online for review 72 hours prior to the public hearing held on January 23rd, 2025, as indicated in the public hearing notification which was mailed to homeowners. The staff report was not available online when the link provided was clicked. When clicked, the website link provided read page not found. Localities must be cognizant of posting each distinct CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, related decision discussed at public meetings on meeting agendas so as to give adequate opportunity for public participation as required under the Ralph M. Brown Act, and to avoid project risk from noncompliance. Also, attachment A, notice of exemption, had already been signed in advance by the associate planner approving the project prior to the public hearing held on January 23rd, 2025. It is my understanding that 2 Planning Commission members can request this appeal. The request to appeal an administrative decision form on the Simi Valley website reads that the form must be completed and filed not later than 14 calendar days, making the 14th calendar day February 6, 2025. On October 21st, 2019, Monterey homeowners voted on whether to install security gates or not. It failed, no gates. On April 7, 2021, Monterey homeowners voted on whether to install security gates or not. It failed, no gates. A supermajority has never been reached, which is my understanding, which is a requirement of our CC&Rs. The Monterey community was not going to be a gated community according to the developer. No design was submitted, nor was any approval provided for a gated community. When the power goes out unexpectedly, or when Southern California Edison has a public safety power shutoff, security gates will typically become inoperable due to the lack of electricity needed to run the motor, meaning you will need to manually force the security gates open to gain access in and out of Monterey, a huge inconvenience and possibly life-threatening, unsafe in the event of a fire, at which time the security gates would serve no purpose. Unfortunately, the minutes from the January 23rd, 2025 public hearing are unavailable. However, the hour-long recording is available, I understand, and I urge you all to take a listen to it. Thank you.
Thank you. You Anybody else wishing to be heard? Is there any correspondence from the Deputy Director?
Chairperson Chrisman, no correspondence tonight.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
A motion was made by Commissioner Rice with a second by Commissioner Tolson. Unless there's any objectives, the consent calendar stands approved. This is the time and place set for a public hearing on the consideration of PDS 2023-0010, TT 2023-0003, TPS 2024-0002, CUPS 2023-0015, and AHA 2023-005. Are there any ex parte communication to report? May I have an oral report on this matter by staff?
Yes, Chairperson Chrisman and members of the Planning Commission, this is the public hearing for a long-awaited project at 4868 Cochran Street for a 3-story, 26-unit multifamily townhouse project proposed by City Ventures. With the presentation tonight is our Associate Planner, Alex Klingman.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. The applicant, City Ventures Home Building, LLC, requests approval of a plan development permit, tentative tract map, tentative parcel map, and an affordable housing agreement to create a new parcel and construct a 26-unit multifamily residential townhome development and a modification to the existing conditional use permit for a religious facility. The affordable housing agreement falls under the City Council's purview and will be reviewed at a later date. The project site is located at 4868 Cochran Street. The northern portion of the site facing Cochran Street is currently developed with a 5,500 square foot religious facility, multi-purpose building, and a playground. The site is surrounded by a senior apartment complex to the west, single-family homes to the north and south, and a religious facility to the east. The property is owned by the Korean Baptist Church, who plans to sell the vacant southern portion of the site to the applicant, outlined here in red. To facilitate this, the applicant proposes a tentative parcel map to divide the lot, keeping the religious facility on parcel 1 and constructing the townhomes on parcel 2. The 26-unit townhome community is proposed on the 1.2-acre southern portion of the site, which will be accessed by a shared driveway from Cochran Street. The units will be spread amongst 4 buildings, and a tentative tract map will subdivide the development to allow for the sale of the 26 units. A total of 59 parking spaces are provided on site. 49 of those spaces will be 1 or 2 car garages provided in each unit, and an additional 10 uncovered parking spaces will be provided on driveways and street parking within the development, shown in yellow. The project will also add approximately 11,800 square feet of new landscaping throughout the perimeter of the site, along walkways and within private yards. A common outdoor space will be located at the southwest corner, which will include an active lawn area, barbecue, picnic tables, and benches. The site currently has 22 mature trees, and 14 of them will be removed, none of which are oak trees. The applicant will mitigate the loss by planting replacement trees of equal value throughout the project site or pay into the city's tree mitigation fund. The buildings are each 3 stories, excuse me, and 38 feet tall, and the design combines early California and Hacienda architectural styles with red tile roofs and light-colored stucco walls. The design is broken up into 2 schemes. Scheme 1 will have darker colored accents under windows and darker colored garages and front doors, while Scheme 2 will have arched doorways and wood-like balcony siding. To reduce massing, the entire development will include recessed windows and varied roof forms with parapets and eaves. The units will be a mix of 1 to 4 bedrooms, ranging in size from 725 square feet to 1,710 square feet, as shown on the table. All 3 of the 1-bedroom units will be designated for qualified moderate-income homebuyers in exchange for receiving a density bonus and development incentives in compliance with state density bonus law. The residential high zoning on the property allows 24 units at base density. The applicant is providing 3 affordable units to achieve a density bonus of 2 more units. This also qualifies the project for modified parking requirements, 1 development concession, and multiple waivers, as long as the waivers do not impose a life or safety hazard. The applicant is requesting the following 6 waivers. The first waiver request is to reduce the required front yard setback from 43 feet to 3.5 feet at the north property line. The required front setback is shown here in blue and the requested in red. The second waiver request is to reduce the required side yard setback from 15 feet at the east property line, as shown in blue, to 9.8 feet, shown in red. The third waiver request is to reduce the required separation between buildings from 20 feet, as shown in blue, to 14 feet, shown in red. The fourth waiver request is to reduce the required minimum width of single-car garages from 12 feet to 10 feet and 10 inches. The fifth waiver request is to waive the Code-Fig specific plan requirement that restricts structures exceeding 1 story in height within 150 feet of the south property line. The 150-foot distance is shown here in blue. The applicant proposes to construct 3-story buildings within 20 feet of the south property line. Those buildings are shown in red, and the 20-foot required setback is outlined in yellow for reference. The sixth and final request is to waive the specific plan requirement that a 50-foot buffer be provided at the south property line, which includes a 25-foot landscaped area and no structures on the remaining 25 feet of the buffer. The image on the left shows the required 50-foot buffer, outlining the required landscaped area in yellow. The applicant proposes a 3-story structure within this buffer, shown in red, on the right, and a 6-foot landscaped area, including shrubs and trees, along the southern property line, shown in green. A modification of the existing conditional use permit for the church site is required for the lot split and to allow access to the development, which requires the removal of 4 parking spaces and the addition of a landscaped island. Additionally, the original CUP for the church site required upgrades to the modular building at the rear of the property. In 2014, a building permit was issued to rehabilitate the building. However, the changes were never completed due to financial constraints, and the permit has since expired. To ensure that the modular building is completed, this project is conditioned to resubmit plans for reapproval and to install the missing window awnings, lattice patio cover, and architectural details on the building. The project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA Section 15332 for infill development. We would also like to note that PD Condition A19 on page 31 of the report is not applicable to this project and was left in error. Staff will omit this condition on the resolution to City Council. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the modification of the conditional use permit and tentative parcel map for the existing religious facility site, and recommend to City Council approval of the plan development permit and tentative tract map for the new townhome development. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Okay. With your permission?
Yes.
Chairperson. Can you tell me the distance to the nearest bus stop?
I do not have that information offhand, but I can certainly get that to you.
Okay. I see a fire hydrant on the symbol for the fire hydrant, but I couldn't find the fire hydrant actually on the blueprints. So the symbol's there, but I couldn't find the fire hydrant. And it's probably there, I just didn't see it. So I may have overlooked it. Do you know where that is, where it's located on the property? And the only reason I'm asking is just the distance for the fire hydrant to the actual, I know this has to be conditioned through the fire department, but I'm just curiosity at this point.
Commissioner Rice, we could also maybe follow up with that after the speaker's presentation.
That's fine, because the applicant may know, so I don't want to waste too much time on that. And the other thing, which I may have missed, but I didn't see in there, are there any bicycle racks anywhere?
There are no proposed bicycle racks to my knowledge at this
Okay,
time.
and then the reason why I asked that is because just about every other project like this that I've seen has at least some bicycle racks, whether it's townhomes or apartments or anything like that. And since this is so far away from, a store or anything like that, the people would have to drive or ride a bike. So that's why I was asking that question. And that's it for right now, I guess. Okay.
And just to answer your question about the distance to the bus stop, it is 0.2 miles
Point.
to the nearest
so-
bus stop.
Okay, so it's the one in front of, what was Pinecrest, it used to be Pinecrest.
On
or-
Cochrane and Cadota.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah, just a real quick question in reading through this, and I may have missed it as well. The placement of windows on the south border there, was there mitigation efforts for invasion to those properties to the south?
The applicant is maintaining the 8-foot tall screen wall that is already existing there and implementing landscaping there, which would include trees.
Okay, so I didn't miss it then. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Nye?
I'm sorry, are there 2 or 3 units set aside for the moderate income homebuyers?
There are 3 units set aside.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Tolson? Are the one-bedroom units all condensed or they're spread around?
They're all located within one building, which I can pull up for you here. They would all be located within building 1 down here.
Thank you. Any more questions? We will open the public testimony portion of the hearing. Would the applicant like to present the project?
issues, so Alex is going to help me with the PowerPoint.
Can you state your name, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Eric Miller. I'm the Director of Development at City Ventures. It's good to see some of you again. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present and discuss our proposed development project at 4868 Cochrane Street. I'd also like to thank Alex for the detailed staff report. Now to get started, I just want to provide a little history on the project. As you can see, we started due diligence on this just over 2 years ago. Since then, we've been through a number of submittals, we've met with multiple neighborhood councils, and we've worked extremely hard with city staff to ensure that the project I'm presenting tonight is designed in a way that exceeds city standards and expectations. As a refresher, City Ventures, founded in 2009, is one of the leading infill development companies in the state of California. We've always been a solar, all-electric home builder focusing on green and efficient building features that not only benefit the homeowner, but benefit the city as well. These are just a few examples of past City Ventures townhome projects that we've built with similar architecture style as to the one we're proposing tonight. Here's just an aerial view of our site. As you can see, south of Cochran Street sits just behind the Simi Valley Korean Baptist Church. It's in close proximity to the 118 freeway, Simi Valley High School, the community center, and the Walmart shopping center. This site's a perfect opportunity for housing redevelopment, as there's residential both to the north and to the south. In 2021, well before City Ventures started due diligence on this project, the city updated its general plan and zoning to residential high in this area that not only includes our site, but several other sites along Cochran Street. To my knowledge, the Lighthouse Bible Church directly to the east is currently in the entitlement process with the city to be redeveloped into housing. To the west is, as mentioned, the senior living apartment that consists of 50 three-story for-rent apartments and is zoned residential high. I'd also like to point out that the city identified our site in its latest housing element as a residential redevelopment opportunity. Here's just a couple images of what the site's current conditions look like. As you can see, it's open land and overgrown shrubs. As mentioned in the report, there are 14 trees that will be removed as part of our development, but there will be at least 14 replacement trees planted throughout the community, along with many other smaller accent trees. Most of the project details were covered in the staff report, so I don't want to be repetitive. I did, however, want to mention, as soon as the community is completely built out, it will be managed by a homeowners association. So all streets, perimeter walls, exteriors of the buildings, roofs, landscape will be managed and maintained by the HOA. Here's another image of our site plan. Just kind of shows you the entrance, the building layouts, landscaping, open space, parking. Again, this is our typical elevations, which is a traditional Spanish architecture. The buildings were designed with elevation pop-outs, pitched roofs, and arched entryways, really to try and give it more of the traditional single-family detached home feel to them. This is just a close-up of the common open space. And really this area is intended to give the members of the community an area to gather, play with their kids, bring their dogs, just enjoy some time outside. And the imagery below just helps you visualize what the area will look like. As I mentioned, as an all-electric home builder, there are many benefits to the homeowner. One of the main benefits is that there will be absolutely no gas to the site. So all appliances will be electric, which reduce the overall utility bills. On top of that, the solar panels are included with the purchase of the home. So there are not any additional leases or payments. So the homeowners experience substantial savings on their electric bills on day one. Some other benefits, all garages come pre-wired for EV chargers, drought-tolerant landscaping throughout the community, and every unit comes with 5-star appliances as part of our standards, so there are no upgrades needed for that. So with all that being said, it's clear that this project is a positive step forward towards addressing the city's housing needs. It aligns with the city's vision when they updated the housing element to include this site as a residential opportunity, as well as updating their general plan and zoning to residential high in the area. And it's simply a great opportunity to bring another beautiful new home community to the city of Simi Valley. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for the applicant? No?
Yeah, just a quick one here, and looking at the landscaping plan for the trees along that south border again. I basically identified patio trees and accent trees. Can you define those a little closer for me?
Yeah, and I did want to touch on your comment about the windows. So for some of those units, there is a bedroom on the third floor. Our architect is working on the windows to raise them, so you still get natural sunlight, but there's not a direct line of sight to the property to the south. And then for the trees, I've been working with our landscape architect because we are, conscious of the neighbor to the south. And I didn't include it in the presentation because I wanted it to be consistent with the staff report. But she's been working on increasing the landscaping to add as much screening to that southern property line as well. So it's a more dense, taller tree that goes next to the 8-foot screening wall.
And that's a year-round type tree. It doesn't go
Correct.
naked in the winter and,
Yeah,
okay,
it's similar conditions to other properties within the area.
thank you.
Any more questions? I have questions. You mentioned there was going to be a charcoal barbecue. I guess this is more of a suggestion. I would strongly advise you against that. I had charcoal barbecues in my HOA, and we had multiple fires started by residents and non-residents because we're not a gated community. And with all of the fires happening all the time, I feel strongly about that. But that's, I guess, more of a suggestion than. My other question is, did this project have to go to Firewise board to be approved?
So to answer your first question, I might have misspoke. The barbecues are intended to be propane, so they would not be charcoal. And then, sorry, your second question was about fire?
Firewise, it's a fire department board, I guess, or committee that suggests placement of the trees and specific trees that are compliant with fire so that you can actually get fire insurance easier.
So the site is not within a fire zone, but it was reviewed by Ventura County Fire. And as we move through final engineering and construction documents, they also are required to review and approve those plans. So they would get full access to all the types of trees, building materials, and we would take any advice that they have.
Thank you. Any more questions?
To hit on what you just said, in the document that somebody in your company prepared for us, it shows a charcoal grill and a hot ash box.
Okay, so that
Have those
was
been changed, or is it,
included by mistake. That would be a propane barbecue.
and propane, would that be provided by the HOA, or each person would bring their own propane tank when they want to
By
use the
the
barbecue?
HOA.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the chambers wishing to be heard of this matter? Oh, thank you. Cheryl Ferruzzi?
Project, and my window looks directly at it. And I was enjoying the views of Simi Valley Hills, and so were all the other residents who live on my side of the building, and now that's going to be gone. And we're going to have to sit and look at buildings instead of hills. But that's just a complaint. What I really want to ask is, have you done a traffic study? Because their exit and entrance and my exit and entrance are adjacent. And someone coming out of mine going this way and someone coming out of theirs going this way, eventually there's going to be an accident. And I wonder if you could do anything about that, whether you could do a survey that would help you decide what to do with that sort of problem. You've answered all my other questions with your presentation, but this to me is a little more serious than barbecues. So anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Are there any comments from staff regarding statements made during the public hearing?
I would like to respond to your last comment. The city's traffic engineer did review the project for compliance with the city's general plan and municipal code, and there was a traffic report that was prepared for the project. And all of the study area intersections, including the project's driveways, are anticipated to operate at acceptable levels of service. And the project is also conditioned to improve, sorry, let me double check. It's required to construct on-site traffic circulation elements and traffic control devices, and that would be on page 61 of the staff report, condition B18.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the comments regarding statements made during the public hearing?
So I really just want to touch on the comment about the views. You know, as you could see, we tried to orient the buildings to limit the, I guess, blocking any of views. With such a tight space, there's only so much we can do. But, you know, similar to the apartment, it's the same height as the senior apartment complex. So we did the best we could. I don't know exactly which window she's referring to, but the intent was there.
Thank you. If there's no more questions, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. Are there any comments or questions from members of the Planning Commission? Oh, I didn't see it. I guess we're going to open the public testimony of the hearing. Can you please come up and state your name, and if you can fill up the card after you talk?
Debbie Irish. I'm the manager of the property right next door to the west. On Sundays, it's already a mess. She said that there was a traffic investigation or what have you on Sundays when they get out of church, because our tenants turn right, their people come out, turn left, and there are multiple, almost head-on collisions right there at the driveways. It happens every Sunday. And if there's a property there and our property, it's going to be every day. It's not going to be just Sundays. And on Sundays, there's not as much traffic. But that's what our concerns are. It's a beautiful building. You did a great job. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Would the staff like to comment on this?
Yes, touching on that, I believe that the condition to improve those on-site traffic circulation elements and control devices would aid in that issue, because currently there are no existing controls right now, so this condition should improve that.
Any more questions, comments? If there's no further questions, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. Are there any comments or questions from members of the Planning Commission?
First of all, was the traffic study, can we tell if there was a study done on a Sunday?
Our traffic engineer, Justin Link, is not here today, but my understanding is that traffic studies don't look at particular days, they look at overall traffic. So they look at the projects, they look at standard conditions, then they look at the average traffic generated by the project, and calculate it out that way.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Again, we've seen your projects before. I think this one's well thought out. Definitely meets the needs of our community as it's growing. I like the aspect of the low-income housing units there. Very small. One car wouldn't work for me. But I know in entry level that's always a concern. Thank you for a well thought out project.
Commissioner Rice?
Sure. I do have a little concern with the width of the garage. I mean, the 10-foot, 10-inch wide garage, but, the thing with that is that the reality is people are only going to have one of their vehicles in the garage anyway. The other vehicle is going to be outside the garage. So that's just the way it's going to be. And then the rest of it's going to be storage, no matter how wide the garage is. That's just kind of the way it's going to be. That's what people do. So, but I can't really do anything about that. I wish there were more trees on the lot, especially along the back, but the applicant has already said that he's talked to the neighbors, which I think every applicant needs to do is talk to the neighbors, and I appreciate the fact that the applicant has done that. I wish there were some bike racks on the property because I think that, if there's 26 townhomes, that at least some of those people are going to ride bikes, I would think, and it would be nice to have visitors or the ability to park their bikes there. It's other than that, I mean, it's well designed like the other projects that you've presented to us, and I really appreciate that. It's a little close to the back of the property line, but I'm inclined to say that it's okay. I mean, 20 feet, and then there's room behind. The wall is 8 foot high. You're trying to screen it. You're doing the best that you can. It's a small lot. On all the other things, you're meeting the standards, or you're extremely close to those, like what was it, 3.5 inches on one of the variances, right, on the side there. I mean, that to me is not really something to worry about. So I think this is a pretty good project overall. So.
Commissioner Mann? I don't know.
Oh, baby, I did. Oh, the senior apartments that are right next door, did they get any of the bonus densities regarding the setback? Because if you look at an aerial shot, the whole back of the senior complex looks like it has that 150 or at least a 50-foot up to the building, where this one's right on the property line. So would they have been entitled to the same setback?
I can take a stab at that. I believe that project did not have affordability components.
Okay.
And they did comply with the setbacks. They have carports in the rear, which pretty much satisfied both the
So one story. and
one
150.
story and the 150-foot setback.
Okay. The request on the east side, 9.8 feet density bonus waiver to decrease the street side yard setback is requested. I'm assuming we can't just shift the buildings over to increase that because we have the driveway concern on the west side? Okay. That's kind of what I thought, but I just wanted to be sure. That's my only question at present. Thank you.
I have a little bit of concerns with the setback too, especially when it's gonna maybe impact their privacy. And maybe we can see what we can do with the signs on the street so that we can coordinate the traffic and not have collisions. I still strongly suggest of not having a barbecue at all. I mean, that's just my opinion, but the kids can enjoy a swing or something else instead of something that can possibly create a very big hazard for the whole city, not just one community. I like that the roof has solar and that the roof, from what I read, was going to be maintained by the HOA. I like that part. I do have a concern about the private driveway because it's so long, and in case of any emergency or fire, that could be a liability. I understand that it's all legal, but that's just my opinion. That's all the comments.
I do have another question. Regarding the concern for the two driveways hitting each other, on page 34, B17, where it says traffic devices can be used, Is there any way that we could make this project that it's a right-hand turn only onto Cochrane to avoid the cars turning left? Or would that be overreaching?
We would need to discuss that with the city traffic engineer
not here
because
tonight.
they have very specific requirements, which as a planner, the engineers were different worlds. So we need to discuss that with him.
Okay. Thank you.
And Commissioner Mann, part of the situation is these are existing, relatively narrow lots, existing driveways. So there's not a lot of leeway around exiting. I think eliminating a left turn requirement at this point could be problematic because it's already allowed to do left turn
Right.
exits. And I think, as Ms. Klingman mentioned earlier, the traffic study was prepared in general. I understand there's occasional potential conflicts, not unlike many other driveways in the community. So I think, and as far as traffic control devices, we may be just looking at probably a physical stop sign. It's not like a signals
Right.
going up as far as that condition goes, but that's what I would project if anything is added.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
I got a couple comments. Great presentation by Ms. Klingman and Mr. Miller. I like the articulation. The Spanish architecture is great. I'm okay with the waivers. I think the waivers 5 and 6 are unfortunately pretty close, but I'm okay with it. I like the fact that the developer's going to fix the modular building and kind of make that whole for the church. It's a wonderful use of the property and helps us with our housing element. And it's interesting that the name of the street is named after one of our planning commissioners, but I have a friend who would like to name it Klepper Way, but whatever we can do there. And, you know, all along that street, there's driveways, whether it's Phoenix Ranch and the church right next door where they have entrances and exits. That's just the nature of those lots, I think, unfortunately. But I think this is a good project.
Any other comments? Commissioner Rice?
Yeah, just real quick, we touched on those, the architectural design of those windows on that south side. Like you see, definitely pursue that.
And I just wanted to, the chairperson brought up the exit and the concern about having a single lane as an emergency exit. And I agree, that was definitely a concern of mine, but it's really, in an emergency, it's 2 lanes out. So that's why I don't have a problem with it now. Because of that, that's the difference. So 26 units, 75 cars, maybe, something like that, you know, that's probably being generous, but I think that's doable, and the fire department's okay with it, so.
Yeah, I actually drove there on a Saturday morning, and I had the pleasure of speaking to one of the representatives from the Korean church, and they are actually really excited. I know they're selling a part of their property, so maybe that's why they were excited too. But they seem genuine and very excited, and they shared that they have a good relationship with the senior community, and they actually got a couple of parishioners by sharing the parking lot. So in that regard, that's really nice to have nice neighbors. Any more comments? May I please have a reading of the resolution?
Resolution number SVPC 05-2025. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Simi Valley recommending to the City Council approval of Plan Development Permit PDS 2023-0010, tentative track map TT 2023-0003, and Affordable Housing Agreement AHA 2023-0005 for a 26-unit townhome development, and a determination that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and resolution number SVPC 06-2025, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Simi Valley approving a conditional use permit modification, CUP S 2023-0015, and a tentative parcel map, TPS 2024-0002, for a religious facility and a determination that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Thank you. The chair will now entertain a motion.
I move to adopt a resolution approving CUP-S-2023-0015 and TP-S-2024-0002, and adopt a resolution recommending to the City Council approval of PD-S-2023-0010 and TT-2023-0003.
A motion was made by Commissioner Tolson. May I have a second?
I second.
Call for vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
There is no appeal period for the planned development permit, tentative tract map, or affordable housing agreement, and the items will proceed to the City Council with the Planning Commissioner's recommendation. Oral communications and reports. Does staff have anything to report?
Yes, Chairperson Chrisman, regarding the email I provided to you regarding the League of California Cities Conference in Santa Rosa, I received maybe 1.5 responses from the 5 of you. Subsequent to that, if you want to take a straw poll, if anyone would like to go. However, we determined today that the conference has sold out. There's only a statewide waiting list, so if anyone is still interested, we could either not do it or we could try to get you on the waiting list.
Put me on the wait list.
So we have one waiting list. I think that will be the resolution then.
Thank you.
And the second item is we have a planning commission hearing scheduled for February 19th. We expect to have a legislative update from one of our city attorneys.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have anything to report? Mobile Home Rent Mediation Board, does staff have anything to report?
No items tonight.
Tree Advisory Board, does staff have anything to report?
Yes, we are scheduling a presentation of the Tree City USA Award. That should be in April.
Thank you. This concludes the meeting of February 5th, 2025. The next scheduled meeting will be February 19th, 2025.